Heading back up into what's left of Darlene's homestead here. Unfortunately, it started raining, so I guess I'm gonna try to take shelter in Darlene's shed, and but there's still all kinds of items laying around here. There's a whole old hot plate. So back here in Darlene's shed, just wanted to hit a couple key points before I move on to some of the other places. You know, it's crazy this still has, you know, wallpaper and, I mean, newspaper up for wallpaper here, and you can see the old stove pipe hole here. In 1963, Darlene graduated high school in Claysburg, which is nearby. This is where her family, or her parents were from at least. So the same year, in 1963, she met John Myers, 38-year-old John Myers, known as Buddy, or Bud, in the series. And a year later, her first child was born, which is Teresa.
You see anything wrong with that, too?
So a year later, in 1965, Darlene would lose her mother, Virginia, at age 58. A year after that, her second child was born, Tracy. In 1969, Austin was born. So sometime around 1969 to 1970, Darlene moved into this converted hunting cabin. I'm not sure exactly who owned it at that point or why she moved in here. A year after Austin was born is when the Darlene, or Visiting with Darlene series began. Producers PJ O'Connell found out about her living here, and that's when the whole series started. So Bonnie and Roy were definitely born here at this location. The question is whether Austin was actually born here or just prior to moving into here. Now, there is another address in Huntington attached to both Darlene and John's names, so I'm wondering if that house was where they lived before they found this place, or if it's something they lived in between. There's a couple other Myers names attached to that house, so I'm thinking it could have been relatives that allowed them to stay there for a while, possibly. Still trying to figure out if it was before they moved here or afterwards. So I'm actually waiting for this rain to die down a little bit. Somebody commented on my page asking about the spring across the street that Darlene was used, wondering if it was still there. So it is grown up pretty bad, but I'm gonna see if I can get over there and find that spring, because after I watched the documentary again, I can see that there actually was a stone structure around there. It was like a permanent spring house type of setup, so I'm hoping that that's still down there. If the rain doesn't stop, I'm just going to grab my GoPro and go in there for it. So looking out the window, the house would have been right over here, and the spring would have been straight across, because the video showed her coming straight across from the other side, walking up steps that would have been right around in here and up into the house right there. So I'm thinking the spring is straight down over the side of that hill. All right, so the rain doesn't seem to be letting up, so I think I'm gonna have to go for it. See if I can make it down there and find the spring. I mean, it would have been right around here somewhere. Strange. Oh, there it is. No way. Well, there's part of it at least. Oh, damn, I think I'm walking in it. All right. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, so that's the spring. That's the spring that Darlene was getting her water from. Pretty cool. I guess she was just climbing right back up over the hill there, so I could have found an easier way in. Yeah, if you look, that's the so the outhouse is right there, the shed's right there, and the house would have been right there. So she just climbed right up out of there, pulled it across the street to where the steps would have been for the house right here. Looks like they ripped out the steps and everything when they pulled the house out. Right there's the hole I came out of. She got her water down there, all the way across the street with those buckets. And it's pretty cool that that's still there. Here at the second house location, looks like we're in between the storm at this point. But in 1983, PJ O'Connell stopped back to visit with Darlene here.
Neighbors directed us across the valley to a new stage
and found out that sometime between 1972, the last episode they filmed at the original location, in 1983, she moved into a house here that she allegedly bought with $20,000 that she saved up over the years. Now, she was currently with another guy, Robert Carr Patterson, who owned a house across the street. So we're thinking that he had something to do with influencing her to move into this place somehow. But Robert Carr Patterson Sr. moved into this house with Darlene after allegedly selling his house across the street. Bud, or John Myers, Buddy, her actual husband since 1963, was also in this location with her. But a lot of things happened in Darlene's life after moving into this house. You know, she already lost her mother shortly before moving into that first house, and then 2 years after moving here in 1983, in 1985, her father passed away. So in 1987, PJ O'Connell stopped back out here again to visit with Darlene and found that Tracy had a house of her own a couple miles down the road here. And in 1988, they found that Tracy actually had her children taken from her by CYS for whatever reason. It was never established. We can actually still see the natural spring that was running out of the side of the hill and feeding the house, since they still didn't have running water in the place. In 1990, Roy graduated high school from here and joined the Marine Corps. In 1994, we see on visiting with Darlene that Tracy actually got her children back, but this was temporary. In 1994 was actually the last episode of Visiting with Darlene in the entire Darlene Chronicles series. In 1997, Darlene's brother Joseph died at age 60. So Darlene and Bob were evicted from this place then by the current property owner, and they then moved into her final home in Lilly, PA. All right, just gonna come up here and check out the spot up here, because this would have been where, so the house would have been here. There were, you can see in the documentary that there was actually, they were digging out to try to build that home that Bob was planning back here. So you see in the newspaper article, Robert Carr Patterson was his entire name, but Bob is trying to get Habitat for Humanity involved in funding this house, but it's now some type of storage lot for the transportation company that's here. But yeah, that would have been the location right here where they were digging out the spot for Bob to build that house that he had the plans laid out on the table for.
Bob had moved ahead on a plan to replace Darlene's 60-year-old house.
Your destination is on the left.
So July 15th, 2006. This is where Darlene passed away at age 63. The interesting thing is that her husband, Buddy, or John Myers, was actually listed as staying here. So at some point, he was allowed back into the house, apparently.
US 220 north exit toward Altoona.
So Tracy eventually moved into Altoona, into this apartment complex with her boyfriend. On November 9, 2010, she was arrested for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Approximately a month later, December 28, 2010, she passed away in Altoona Hospital. Her boyfriend actually stayed behind here, and a year later, in the same apartment, he was arrested for attempting to disarm a police officer.
I kissed the girls goodbye. I says, I won't see you. I won't never see you again. I didn't want to let Tracy go. I wanted little Tracy. She reminds me of Tracy when she was little.